In today's Halacha, we're continuing with the Wednesdays and Thursday topics on the laws of Erev Shabbos. So in the last segment, we discussed the laws of Oneg and Kavod Shabbos, how the Mitzvah of Kavod and Oneg Shabbos is a machlekes, if it's a deraisa, it's a biblical precept, or if it's a rabbinical precept, and how the Alter Rebbe concludes that even if it's rabbinical, one should treat a rabbinical precept even more severe than a biblical precept, and one who fulfills the mitzvah of Oneg Shabbos is rewarded, as said in the prophets, to be nene meziv hashchin, to bask in pleasure of godliness, and on him it says that all his sins are forgiven and he is saved from the judgment of Gehenna. So, after hearing of such an elite and special mitzvah of Kavod and Oneg Shabbos, we're now going to discuss what acts fall under these two categories of Kavod and Oneg. Kavod and Oneg are two completely separate categories of the dues of Shabbos, of the things that we actually have to do on Shabbos. Shabbos contains many don'ts, many isurim, many malachos. The mitzvah of Kavod and Oneg Shabbos is the mitzvah of remembering Shabbos, lekatre, sanctifying it, doing the active act of making Shabbos a holy day through fulfilling the mitzvah of Kavod and Oneg. So we're going to start with Oneg Shabbos. What acts fall under the mitzvah of Oneg Shabbos? The Alter Rebbe states in the beginning, in the first chapter of Shulchanaruchharav of Shabbos, chapter 242, Halacha 1, that the mitzvah of Oneg was defined by the sages to be fulfilled through eating delicacies of food and beverages. The main mitzvah of Oneg Shabbos is through eating good foods. This is also repeated in chapter 288, Halacha 3, that this is the Iker Inyan of Oneg, meaning even though we're going to see many other subcategories of acts to fulfill the mitzvah of Oneg Shabbos, the main mitzvah of Oneg Shabbos is the eating of delicacies and good beverages. Other things mentioned in the Shulchanaruch that fall under Oneg Shabbos is the eating of 3 Shabbos meals with bread, as bread is the main part of the meal. This is actually not mentioned directly in Hilchos Shabbos, but it's mentioned in Hilchos Yontiv of the Alter Rebbe, in chapter 529, that he says that eating bread by the meals is defined as Oneg. It requires further analysis why the Alter Rebbe in Hilchos Shabbos chose to omit this addition, that it's under the category of Oneg, especially in chapter 274, which discusses the laws of eating bread and eating meals. He doesn't mention that this fulfills the mitzvah of Oneg. But in any event, from the fact that was mentioned regarding Yontif, certainly also applies regarding Shabbos, and as he writes in various places in Shabbos, that bread is the main part of the meal. Eating hot foods on Shabbos is also a mitzvah of Oneg Shabbos. It's included both in Kavod and Oneg Shabbos. The Alter Rebbe writes in chapter 257, and for this reason, it's a minhag Yisrael to always eat hot foods on Shabbos, and therefore leave a blech on, or leave an electric plate on, a Shabbos plate, in order to have hot food to fulfill the mitzvah of Oneg Shabbos by the night meal and the day meal. Lighting candles on one's Shabbos table is also included within the mitzvah of Oneg Shabbos. This doesn't mean necessarily literally sitting on one's Shabbos table, but it means that the candles are in an area that their light is reached near one's table, so one is eating by the light of the candles. That's the idea. Regarding whether you should leave your candles on the table or not, this is dependent on custom. Many people who follow the teachings of Kabbalah don't leave them on the table. Some don't leave it on the table in order not to make the table muktzah. And many are accustomed to leave it on the table to specifically eat on the table that the candles are found. Sleeping on Shabbos, Sheina b'Shabbos Tainig, sleeping on Shabbos is included within the mitzvah of Oneg Shabbos, and that's why it's also minhag Yisrael to sleep in a little late on Shabbos, and this also fulfills the mitzvah. Marital relations considered within the mitzvah of Oneg Shabbos, and another major halacha that Alter Rebbe mentions, it's included within the mitzvah of Oneg Shabbos, is not to have any thoughts regarding mundane activities, and rather to view all of one's needs and worries as if they're already taken care of by Hashem. This is the main mitzvah of Oneg, says Alter Rebbe. The main mitzvah, meaning even the main aspect of Oneg is the idea of eating and drinking, as we said before, but the main rest that one fulfills on Shabbos is by not having any mundane thoughts in viewing that all of his worries have been taken care of. In Mitzvah Shem, tomorrow's class, we'll go into the detailed subcategories of Kavod Shabbos.